Hello everyone, my name is Saket and this is the first episode of the Design Podcast of year 2023. Today we have a very special guest. This person needs no introduction. His company's design-centric approach and a vision to become the best performing EV motorcycle is just mind-blowing. Their vehicle was recently launched and also showcased in Auto Expo Delhi. Everybody talks about this company. You have guessed it right. We are talking about Mr. Narayan Subramaniam, the co-founder of Ultraviolette Automotive. When I get a chance to sit with someone like Narayan, I make sure that I have those conversations which will help me understand their outlook towards everything, their perspective towards success in life, and also that X factor, which sets them apart from rest of the community. This conversation was very special because it was very candid, very organic, yet it had so much value. I could learn so many things from this podcast. Small nuggets of this podcast. Narayan and his co-founder Neeraj, they never had a vision to start a company. They never wanted actually. Then why did they start? Why did they name their company Ultraviolet? Why aircraft as the inspiration? Why F-77? He has shared so many things. The first part will be his journey till the point they decided to start this company. And the second part will be all about how they built this company. We'll talk about design details of F-77, small things, why this proportion, why this kind of features, everything. This is gonna be a wonderful conversation. I recommend you guys to watch till the end. And without any further ado, let's welcome my senior from college, my dear friend, Narayan Subramaniam.
Narayan, welcome to the Design Podcast. Thanks for doing this, man. It means a lot to me and the design community.
Sure.
And it's been a while, but I want to congratulate you on getting the investment from Exor Capital.
Thanks. I mean, first of all, welcome here. Very happy to be catching up with you. It's been what, 2013? Almost about a decade since we last met. Yeah. So for those who don't know, we went to the same design schools and got a lot in common.
Yeah.
And yes, I think what you're talking about in terms of XOR, etc., I think it's a great validation of our endeavor to be an Indian company creating waves globally in the automotive technology sphere. And I think we're at the precipice of what over the next decade could, blossom into hopefully a very large enterprise.
You will, I'm pretty sure. And I think the launch is around the corner.
Right.
Maybe this year.
I think everyone is like launch kab hai. Yeah, it is around the corner. I think it's a matter of days now. It's not months or anything. So
wow. Okay. Super excited for that. And there's already a good word of mouth everywhere about UV.
It's been a latent sort of a desire in us to create something very different from what the rest of the industry is heading towards. And I think it goes a long way before we started the company also of wanting to create value, wanting to create something different, wanting to move the technology curve faster than what the median is. And it's a moment of all of those things coming together finally. So
wow. So I want to take this podcast as an opportunity.
Sure.
And make this podcast into something which can become like a guidebook
Sure.
for all the aspiring design entrepreneurs,
Sure.
Because not every day you will be, seeing and listening to the stories of those guys who have made it.
Sure.
So, I'm looking forward to it. So,
one disclaimer before we get into details is, I think my vision or my co-founder Neeraj, I think none of us ever had the ultimate goal of starting a company.
Really?
It was a consequence of what we are seeing around us and when we were working in different places and thinking of what we could move faster, right? So in that way, we never thought, 10 years back or 15 years back when we were classmates or friends and working on projects that we want to start a company to be successful. It was more of, at a certain point in time, we realized maybe trying this out could move things faster than what was happening.
I wasn't expecting that because I thought you would have been this person who always wanted to start something, and that's why I want to go back to your, the starting of journey. I want to understand which were those interest areas or pivotal moments during your childhood,
Sure.
which, paved the path for your entire journey, which now we are witnessing.
Sure. Yeah, I think maybe you would resonate with me. One very interesting thing that designers share in common is that annoying curiosity, right? You're curious about every single thing around you, about services, about products, about whatever you see, and you always have a take on, if I were to be part of this, how I would do it differently and things like that. So that started at a very young age for me.
Okay.
And I grew up in France during my very early formative years.
Oh, really? I didn't know that actually.
So my dad's a doctor. He was in a small town called Nancy in France. Yes.
Oh, okay.
So he was there for a while, and then mom and I think I was about 4, moved to France, and we were there for about 2 years or so.
Oh, okay.
And I remember going to play school then, and it was all about, playing with colors, playing with textures. We weren't taught language. You learned language as a consequence of having to communicate with other kids, and your ability to absorb is really strong at that point, right? So I could speak fluent French.
Really?
Today, I can just understand if someone speaks slowly, but I mean, I'm not in touch with...
Okay.
Yeah.
But crazy, man. Actually, I like this about, European countries, their education system, they don't force you, a lot of syllabus on you.
It allows you to mold yourself, right? It's not force-fitting a mold and expecting you to grow into that.
My nephew, actually, both of my nephews, they're in Amsterdam. So they keep telling about their schooling and all. And I'm like, dude, this is so nice. They'll be left in a play, like big hall like this.
Right.
And they'll be having a lot of toys and this and that, and then teacher will be just observing there, like which is his inclination, what does he like, and all that.
Right.
Like, wow.
It's very conducive to exploring what you like doing, and
I think it would be helpful for the creative journey, especially.
Sure.
Right? Wow.
So I don't know what impact that had. It's just a very cool memory in my head. But what happened when we were in France was. Okay, before that, so my highlight of my time in France.
Okay.
2 years, we went to a lot of, did the usual touristy things, amusement parks, cultural.
How old were you that time?
4, 5.
Damn, you remember everything?
No, not vividly, but I have, just very blurred memories of these.
Wow, okay.
One thing I remember vividly is for that whole 1.5 years or so, I pestered my parents to get me a RC car.
Okay.
And these were not radio controlled. These were those wire. You have
a
transmitter and a wire and the vehicle.
And a wire.
Yes. You're bound to, what the length of that cable is. Yeah. And I was fascinated by that. And
wow.
But parents were like, it's expensive. Don't throw tantrums. You're not getting it right now. And 1 year went by, I think a year and a half went by. Before we left France, one of my dad's colleagues in the hospital, she, I think, was quite fond of me and gifted me a remote control car with those off-road tires. And I lost my mind. Right? So that is my single most vivid memory from that whole 2 years there.
Oh, that is quite an impactful memory or the incidents, I would say.
What made it more special is you've been dying to get it for 1 year and you're not getting it, and then finally you've lost hope, and then it's like, hey, this is in front of you.
You've attracted it. Like continuously to the universe.
Possible.
This is what I want. This is what I want. Awesome, man. So how many years did you spend in France? When did you come back?
About a couple of years, and then we got back here.
Okay, directly in Bangalore.
Yes.
Okay.
We were from Bangalore.
Okay.
Dad was working in Bangalore earlier.
Okay.
So what happened though, which was even cooler than that remote control car, which I wasn't aware of, was my parents had stocked up on these Lego kits.
Okay.
Right? So
very cool.
And for some reason, I think mom and dad had spotted some creative potential in me or wanted me to learn science. I don't know what the objective was, but they stocked up on Lego Technique.
Okay.
So they got about 6 or 8 Lego Technique kits, and these teach you how to work with gears, pneumatics, like motors, all of that, right? And their plan was to give one to me each birthday of mine. So it was all in my mom's cupboard. Okay. And one day back in India, and I was already fascinated with Lego. I had a couple of kits. I was, mixing and matching and building my own stuff and doing that. But one day mom gave me the cupboard keys and said, hey, can you get me this document or file or something? and I had to look for it, and I pushed some of the clothes that were hanging, and I lost my mind. There's like, it was a stack of 8 Lego Technique kits, and probably one of the top 3 happiest days of my life.
Wow.
So then my mom, I mean, she saw how gleeful I was, and she couldn't refuse. She like, fine, take it. And that entire summer vacation was like magic. And did maxed out whatever I could, built the models that the kids instructed you to, tore it apart, built a lot more different contraptions, tried to make them fly, put them in water, try to make it float. If it floated, try to make it move. So just a lot of these things. And if the Lego kits didn't have the required parts, then I would still try to see how to meet that objective. I still remember taking these, these Camlin rulers, right? The 6-inch rulers, the plastic ones. I took it, held it over a candle, bent it, cut it, and made propellers out of it to then put it in water and try to make the boat run, right?
Dude, actually, you were in a way doing design,
without knowing this is called.
Because there was creativity involved. There was a lot of mechanical and movement and things like that.
Making things functional.
So form, function, everything. Awesome. And at such an early age, that is very fascinating, by the way. Because, I come from a very small town, and I got access to all these things actually very late in my life. Because we didn't have any awareness of this.
So we come from a middle class background. Dad was a doctor in the government service. And so money never solved problems. So which is why if I wanted that propeller, there was a website in Singapore where I could have ordered it from, but not happening, right? So then I had to really think, okay, now that is not an option, but I know what it looks like, what are the angles the blades are at, how do I, try to fabricate something. Might not be as efficient, but did the job. So it was just finding things around the house and figuring out what you could do. Right now, there's a lot of hobby kits you get. I'd say back in the 90s and 2000s, there was absolutely nothing industry around these.
That brings me to a very nice thing which I have observed. Whenever I speak to designers or people who have made it like very well in their lives and all, so I understand from them, adversities, they're gonna be there always, but the drive, which will make them keep going. So I think you had that drive, and whatever the problems came in between, you could figure out a way to do that. Like you used Camlin rulers for that, for example. But you found a way to do that. And actually, I want to make sure that audience understands this, because there are so many students and designers who will keep cribbing about the problems they have in their lives. But if you have that drive, you'll make it happen. So,
and there have been several dangerous incidents also in this whole journey. We're playing with batteries and motors and some points taken off, appliances that stopped working at home. Trying to pull out parts and trying to repurpose it for like the mixie at home in the kitchen. Mixie broke, mom is upset, I'm happy. Okay, please don't exchange it for a new one. You like get a new one, but try to give me the motor from the mixie.
Let me open it and see what is inside. Let me try to repair.
And there have been times like put batteries, like naked batteries, the terminals connected, put them on a boat, try to make a submarine, whatever. Put it in a tub of water, and I've gotten shocked. So stuff like that has happened. Then that's when I realized what is insulation, right? Then it was about taking balloons and using rubber as a medium to insulate things. And so there have been several times where I think it's funny. We're working with electric vehicles now. I've had several instances growing up where I've faced shocks from the plug point, from batteries, and you remember those famous cuboid 9-volt batteries, right?
Right.
And those were like damn good. Like, I mean, the energy that provided over what do you say, the AAA, AA cells was crazy. So a lot of my bad incidents are with those 9-volt batteries.
Wow, man, that is very fascinating. Like when we look back to all those memories, you were trying to build something like F-77 without knowing anything about it, right? Trying to just figure out. So, of course, when you were doing that, were you aware of design as a career path? Like,
Not at all.
Not at all. Right?
Not at all. So when I was studying 12th, or I mean, the two key milestones in our lives are still 10th and 12th, right? The board exams.
For sure, yeah.
Yeah, so much pressure to get into a good college, get a good rank, and that is a vicious cycle. People tend to have a negative view on it, but I think if you treat it the right way, it helps you later in life. Dealing with that kind of stress when you're 16 and 17, 18
right.
actually prepares you for stuff that you face later. So, I don't know, one not ideal for everybody, but if you're able to navigate and understand what is important, what is not, it definitely helps you later on. So, to your question, the options were engineering and medicine. Yeah. And I had taken physics, chemistry, maths, biology in my 12th.
Right.
So medicine was a possibility. But I slowly realized, I think I'd already realized subconsciously that I want to do something involving machines and gadgets, etc.
Right, yeah.
But when I was in 11th and 12th is when I finally figured out I don't want to be in the medical field. Want to do something with technology or creative this thing. So architecture was opening up back then. So I had written the AIEEE exams for architecture, got a really high All India rank for that.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. And at that point, family also was talking to other families, friends, and it's
a pivotal moment, no?
It's a
family. It's everything for them. 12th turning point.
Yes. And it's democracy, right? Like whatever someone else is doing, all that influence comes in this side. And
sure. I can totally relate with this. Yeah, for sure. I think it happens to every Indian middle class family.
Yeah.
That okay, 12th aa gaya, and they will try to force, careers which is gonna give you good salary and good settled future and all that.
See, but that comes from what was important in their generation.
Exactly.
Where a government job was sets you in a good place for the rest of your life, right?
Of course.
Pension is taken care of, your job security is taken care of, and so
actually, to add to that point, people don't realize that even today in India, for most of the Indians, survival is still the first, basic necessity to solve, right? And they come from a generation where, development was not there. Indian economy was not growing at this pace. And they have seen, what happens to people who are not getting enough education and getting good salary and what is happening after retirement and all that. So it is completely justifiable why they were thinking like that. And I want to, praise you for this thing, that I am liking this positive outlook on almost everything what you are saying, because I see people around me usually cribbing about these things. Education system, aisa hai, waisa hai. But then you said it prepares you for life. That stress and dealing with the timeline, deadlines, and managing your time properly. You have to finish this much syllabus in this given limited time and all that. So that outlook is very important.
There's finite resource but infinite requirements. We are a country of over 1 billion people. Of course, there is competition for everything. I remember my school life also, high school. I went by the local Bangalore transport bus. And no matter what happens in school, fighting and getting a seat in the bus is the highlight of your day, right? It doesn't matter what happened the rest of the day.
That's true, man, actually. Yeah. How many times I have traveled in bus, standing in between. Basic things which, developed countries
take for granted.
Take for granted, basically. So it's a struggle for us. And that prepares us for everything. And that's why.
And I think all of us are born designers growing up in this environment. No, you're always fighting to optimize something in some creative way. And
that's what Indians are the best jugadu people in the world, right? There's a reason for that, because we have given so many challenges. We have to make the best out of it. Right?
Yes.
And that prepares for so many things. Mathematics also. In developed countries like my nephews and all, they'll be getting calculators from a very young age.
You mentioned calculator and mathematics. I remember my knuckles getting bruised in school when I get a 13 table wrong.
Many will relate to that, actually. True.
Okay, cheers.
Okay. Yeah, like you already mentioned that everything what were you doing, you decided to go and follow engineering because you were not aware of design as such. So how was your, engineering journey, and were there any, pivotal moments or projects or things which you did, which, enlightened you about this design as a career path and things like that?
I think plenty. The whole 4 years of engineering was very pivotal in ultimately what led to my career choices.
Did you meet Neeraj in engineering?
Neeraj was my classmate from school. We were competing for first rank throughout high school.
Oh, rivals, huh?
Yeah, and rivals, friends, and later on worked on several projects together.
Okay.
And
we'll come to that later, but yeah, we can talk about your engineering journey.
So, joined mechanical. Both of us went to the same college, but what happened was first year is more of common subjects, right? Everybody studies the same 2 semesters of foundation. Right. And realized that the syllabus is frankly sort of outdated. Okay. Started questioning the practicality of what you are studying, how much of it is, going to be relevant in the real world, and spoke to a lot of people through family, friends, contacts about what they do in their jobs, etc. Okay. And so there was time available, right? 4 years of a lot of time. Yeah. And the culture is basically, you're an engineer, right?
Engineer, right? Yeah.
So we study for exams the week before exams.
1 month of preparation leaves, that's enough, right?
Yeah. And the whole culture is just memorize or mug up what's there and try to just replicate that in the...
Right, yeah.
So that wasn't really satisfying. 2 avenues for me. One was sports. I was actively into basketball. At that point. Kept me...
For those who don't know, Narayan is an excellent basketball player. Actually, in NID also, he used to be a popular chap. He's known for, he would be easily spotted with his basketball shorts and, Jordan shoes and things like that. Yeah. Please continue.
So, one was that. Second was, I think we slowly, Neeraj, me and a few more like-minded people, started working towards interesting projects and competitions as part of college fests. Right. So what happened was, if you know, IIT Bombay has a fest called Tech Fest.
Tech Fest.
Mood Indigo, which is the cultural fest, Tech Fest on the engineering side. And Tech Fest, just happened to go through the website and saw a lot of very interesting project briefs or competitions where you need to build working prototypes of aircrafts or boats or cars or whatever robots, depending on what the event was. So each year we sort of, work towards, allocated 3-4 months of time, and 4 or 5 of us worked towards that one particular project brief. This required us thinking creatively across mechanics, electronics, computers, and figuring out a solution.
Okay.
Our approach was always 0 or 1. I remember this one competition where the brief was quite challenging. You create a vehicle that traverses a certain path on land.
Okay.
It has to navigate, so it needs, ability to steer itself remotely. Second, it enters the pool and it needs to navigate a path on water.
Right.
Third, it has to climb back onto land and then climb up a ramp of 45-degree incline to a height of 1 meter and fall. It's a vertical drop of 1 meter. Needs to sort of reorient itself. Then, go through and then open certain spring-loaded doors. So you need to understand what the spring tension is, what the shape of what the thrust in the vehicle has to be to open those doors and then reach the finish line.
Yeah, that's quite a complex brief actually. A RC car with so much,
It's like building a transformer.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
And stuff like this we found really interesting.
Right.
And when I say we would take a 0 or 1 approach, it's either like go for a home run or it's a glamorous failure. Right? So every other entry there in that event was a Tupperware tiffin box with paddles on it.
Okay.
Which sort of does the same thing, but it's not most efficient in all the situations. And you're timed, right? Fastest wins. And every time there is human intervention in realigning, reorienting the vehicle, you're docked points or seconds. Right. That's how the final score was tabulated. So what we built was this a crazy thing, which was an air-propelled vehicle, independent servo motors for the steering. And what we realized was the swimming pool path was quite long.
Okay.
And for a vehicle to function efficiently in water or air, length is one of the key parameters, right? So you have to optimize how long the watt of the vehicle is. And the competition brief said you need to create something 30 cross 30 cross 30. It's a
30 centimeters.
30 centimeter cubic volume. You can't exceed
Got
that.
it. Okay.
And we built something that was obviously looking longer. Okay, so we sort of did well in that event, and air propelled, like I mentioned, and people started complaining, "Arey, like everyone else is like this
Small.
like a box which fit in that thing," and then the judges are like, "Hey guys, we need to inspect what's happening."
Oh.
And this was like a very cool instance, right?
Okay.
And so we're like, yeah, your guidelines are 30 cross 30 cross 30. Then like it's obviously not meeting. Someone took a ruler and measured. It was 43 centimeters, and then the organizers brought a box. They also like thought about it, bought a box of 30 cross 30 cross 30 without the top.
Okay.
So it's obviously not going inside, right? But we had designed to fit the diagonal. So then we just reoriented and it pushed straight into the box, right?
Oh, wow.
Then it was like a oh shit moment for like everybody there. Yeah.
Okay.
So small details, loopholes, like how do you figure out within constraints to solve the problem the most efficient way was our approach. This was one instance. If I talk about every project, that's the only thing we'll talk about today. But we ended up winning over 30, 40 of these across 4 years of
30,
engineering.
you said 30?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And also one more thing that helped was both Neeraj and I had a very good aero modeling background. I was big into building aircrafts with balsa wood, and because after Lego, my next move was into functional aircrafts and
Okay.
And this was the era before RC flights. You have line control flights.
Right.
With one, you control the fuel intake into the engine. With two, you control the elevator. So it's two lines going from your hand. This is elevator, this is the throttle.
Yeah, right.
And it was, you build your own aircrafts,
Crazy.
so you understand aerodynamics, aerofoil sections, how the wings need to be attached to the fuselage, for what kind of purpose, single prop, dual prop, turbine aircrafts, all of this.
I think the more we are talking about everything about your journey, no wonder you have something like F-77 in place today.
Right.
Because you have been doing something like that unknowingly. And I have always believed, engineering is a place where you go to figure out what you want to do in life. Right?
Exactly. Unfortunate that we spent 4 years to do that.
Right. But yeah, it's such an amazing platform.
Right.
And in that time, you get time to explore.
Right.
There are so many events like, those robotic
Tests
and things like that.
Yeah.
There's so much exposure. You get to explore so many things. And if you are good with your time management, last 1 or couple of months of studies are enough for you to, get good grades.
Right.
And, then it becomes easier to deal with your family pressure also. Because, their main concern is, you are not, you are not failing in your exam.
Correct.
That is all okay. So if you are getting like, let's say 8-pointer or something, then then you good. And along with that, you are doing something which is not like, getting sloshed and drinking and all that. So then it all makes sense to them.
Yeah.
And I think it makes it very easy for everything. So you can follow your passion, you can study also. So yeah, kudos to engineering actually. I have also similar story. But let's focus on your story. When you did all this, what was that moment when you decided, fine, I want to pursue design as my future career path?
Right.
What was that moment?
Still didn't have too much clarity into that. This was just out of, it became addictive. We're like good at something, shit man, let's do it. The next event is like a bigger challenge. Let's see if we can solve it. And it was just this. And we didn't have a trajectory of where this would land at a certain point. It was just, it's interesting, let's do it. That's the approach both of us and some of our other friends were going with.
Okay.
And I think we finished engineering. Placements was around the corner.
Right.
And this whole IT drive that was, or I don't know, is still happening.
It's still there.
Right, where they come and recruit a few hundreds of people.
Yeah, it happens.
So what happened back then was I started questioning, do I want to get into that sort of field?
Right.
Also spoke to a few people doing the core field within mechanical or civil or biotech or whatever people are studying.
Right.
And even a lot of them were not really contributing towards what their academics were all heading towards.
Okay.
So then I did some background research into design research. I mean design opportunities and firms in and around Bangalore, product design firms. Back then the only studios were product design. Now you have a lot of UX, UI, etc. Found a few and just took all my projects, put them into Samsonite suitcases, took it. Dad drove me down to two of these studios, landed up in front saying, hey, I'm an engineer, I've done a lot of interesting projects. Would you like to meet me?
Okay.
Right. Then I went to the third place I went to was a studio called Icarus.
Icarus, okay.
They are still here in Bangalore, right?
Yeah.
Their old studio was in Indiranagar. So I just walked up there. No, we were living across Bangalore.
Okay.
I mean, office happens to be here today, but we were living on the other side.
Okay.
And put my suitcase on the table. And this time I thought in the last two places I was waiting very patiently, obediently in the reception, etc.
Okay.
This time I was like, I just opened and took out 2-3 of my projects, placed on the table and said, see, this is the stuff I've done. Can I meet, people from your design team?
Right. Okay.
And I think the word went around and two of the founders called me into the studio. One of them is a person called Mr. Sunil.
Okay.
And I think they were like, who's this kid who just landed up with stuff? And then it actually looked interesting. They spoke to me. They said, okay, looks interesting. Maybe you can contribute to our engineering or...
design also.
Yeah, design, engineering.
Oh.
Like a role that could, be between multiple departments. And
right.
I was excited. And they said, what salary do you want, etc. I said, these 2-3 IT companies have given me offers that is along these lines. They said, okay, cool, we can do something close to that. And
wow.
Yeah, that was cool. But now you go back home and again everyone sits and all of us are thinking about which is the right move for this guy. And one was a very large IT company and the other is a studio doing very niche, interesting work, which of course not too many people are aware of, right? Again, the whole design awareness is not at all, wasn't at all present.
Yeah.
So popular opinion was to join the larger company. So they looked at all the same work. They said, we'll give you, our clients are Ferrari and Boeing and stuff like that. We'll put you onto those projects.
Okay.
That was, I think, just to get me excited. Right. When I joined, I was doing some C++ coding work, right?
Okay.
So 1 month of training happened and that was the pivotal point. In fact, where I realized what I don't want to be doing. Right? It's as important as figuring out what you want to do.
Exactly, equally important actually. Yeah.
So I just quit after a month.
Wow, that was quick.
But we had high-speed internet and I was able to do research and figure out NID was like the coolest place in India at that point to sort of study design formally.
Okay.
So then I dropped out of my job. Parents had just left India and moved to another country. Dad was going to be there for the next few years.
Oh.
They were like a little, edgy.
Again.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they left it to me to figure out what I want to do. And so then I realized, so what happened was the folks at Icarus were very nice. Even though I had to communicate to them that, okay, I'm not going to be joining right now, etc. Met them a few more times and they were able to guide me. And I met a few folks who were working there who were previously from NID.
Oh.
And one of them is a guy called Pratap. So shout out to Pratap Ganpati. So he's one of the earliest design mentors or influencers in my design career.
Shout out to him. Yeah. Now that we talked about engineering and everything, why did you end up choosing transportation design as your career?
Right. So, like I mentioned, Pratap gave me some guidance. Sunil from Icarus gave me some guidance.
Right. Yeah.
Very grateful to that. But what it helped me was understand what's a portfolio, how to put work together.
Right.
And with all that understanding, what I did was compile all my projects, take a few photographs of them, add some write-up of what the idea was, why we executed this in particular ways, and made a nice A3 booklet, spiral-bound booklet out of it. Right. And went to NID, carried again the same 2 suitcases with all my projects, and this was after the written test, the studio test. Yes. Yeah. So because I had 2 interviews there, I was there for a week. So I stayed in the hostel for a week. This was B hostel. And
Paldi.
Paldi campus. And you know the studio test happens in April. And that is 40 plus degrees in Ahmedabad.
Ahmedabad heat.
Yeah.
Dry.
Yeah.
Right?
And hostel, you know, right? I mean, it was unoccupied. It was like an oven. So
yeah.
I used to, pour bottles of water on the plank of wood before, lying down, putting a sheet and lying down at night. It was, but I really like the environment there.
Right.
Like it's a nice green bubble. It's sort of a creative zone. You see a lot of students' works celebrated all over campus.
Right.
And these are not, famous artworks or anything. It's meant to, be a part of a program or a course or a module during the curriculum.
Right. Yeah.
And it was great to see so much of that displayed all over the college campus. And so heat, I think first night was a problem. After that, I sort of, wasn't an issue at all. I was just involved with what's happening, absorbing things, and studio test happened. I like the format for both studio tests. It was quite creative.
Nice.
Transportation was a little more, one was a sketch test where you are shown a car and then for like 30 seconds, and then you're given half an hour to draw different perspective views of the car. That was one. Then I think we were given some clay and, just asked to mold or sculpt different types of scale models or ideas in our minds.
Okay.
Then I don't know what the third one was, I forgot, but it was given some raw materials and asked to construct a functional object or something like that.
Okay.
Enjoyed all of it. Product design was also very interesting. This one assignment was cool. We were each given a sock.
Okay.
Right, and in that sock is an object. So you put your arm in, figure out what that is.
Just using your touch sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you have to, sketch the orthographic views of that object.
Oh.
So I got that multi-pin socket adapter with one of the pins missing, the earth pins missing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was cool. And then I was able to sort of sketch it out. And the other part of that question was scale it up to 1.5 times its size and make a side view, top view, whatever.
Nice.
So yeah, I found this whole process interesting, and with each day it was more like, this is what I want to be part of in the long run.
Correct.
Then the interviews happened, and for some reason I chose transportation design. Common opinion was choose product design. It's going to offer you a wide skill set of, you can work on cars, you can work on washing machines or mobile phones or whatever. But something told me, being a specialist and then trying to see what else you want to do may be a better approach. And I think that was a very good decision as well.
Right.
And I mean, you've studied transportation design as well, right? And you've seen the effort and skill we put into developing the fundamentals first.
Right.
And then, moving outwards and seeing things at a zoomed out view.
For sure. And I think that helps in a way because, when you pick a niche for yourself, you are self-driven and then you have, very specific focused goal. And then you believe in creating, not just, thinking about it.
Right.
So it all, I think, adds up to, becoming that particular designer whom you really want to become, you are really passionate about it. I think in hindsight that choosing transportation design worked out fairly well sitting here.
Well, and like you mentioned, I've seen this during when I was in college and seeing more of it now as we're, speaking to a lot of people from the community, young designers, etc. The best thing about transportation design is what I think every designer, whether you're a graphic designer, UX or product or transportation, is our language is pen and paper, right? So getting this spot on, you don't have to be an artist. You don't have to, sketch beautifully proportionate things all the time. When required, yes, you need that skill.
Right.
But to communicate what's on your mind, I mean, that is the only language that transcends geography, transcends, culture, everything, right? You're working in Japan or China or Germany. I mean, you might not be able to communicate effectively using your native language.
Right. Yeah.
But this has to be in place.
Correct.
And we've seen some of this, being taken for granted or being missed out in the foundational aspect of a designer today.
I completely agree with this because I keep meeting all these, young students who are in design colleges already. And I see this happening that they are getting too much influenced by all these modern digital skills.
Right.
Like the ideation part is, it's like the core essence of your design process.
Right.
Because you'll be, churning out all the ideas and, finally picking out the best solution.
I mean, you're able to mask the core skill of, being able to consider all parameters and solve for it through design.
Yeah.
Like, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Blender, right? Blender is cool, but use Blender only after you've sort of solved everything
Exactly.
in the right way with the right skills in the loop.
So like we were talking about, like during our times, I think we used to sketch at least 100, 200 sketches before reaching to a final proposal.
Right.
At least 200 sketches, right? Like we would have a bunch of sheets lying around with, random sketches, and not like very detailed sketches, right? Doodles, rough sketches, scribbles, all that. But now I think because of, lot of inclinations and easy way out with all these, visual skills, I think students are just copying to, 10th or 11th idea only. But I think that core essence of design, which needs ideation, churning out everything which you have inside you, I think that is important. And I like the point which you mentioned, that our language is through pen and paper. Right? So if that is the language, then you need to be a master of it. I'm not saying that build insane level of line, skills and everything, but at least conveying your idea through something which is through sketch. It is very important.
Absolutely. I mean, often we've come back after 100 sketches, you come back to sketch number 3 and think, that is still the most relevant. But you're confident you've exhausted every single direction in your mind. Yes.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, and I'm happy that we are, having the same opinion.
Right.
So, I think it validates to some level. Now that we have talked about all this, during NID, you did several exciting projects. I remember some of your projects very vividly, and you were one of those, bright students from transportation design. So already you went to the best college in India. You had good projects in hand. You might have had good opportunities also. So why did you decide to go to UMIO and pursue another master degree?
Sure.
What was your thought process?
So what happened was, my understanding of design, or what I like to think of as design, is very different from what the industry sort of promotes.
Really? Okay.
To me, design is innovation, right? It could involve making beautiful looking things. It could involve functional aspects. It could involve technology. It could involve, the psychological, emotional aspects. Like everything goes into design.
Right.
Today, unfortunately, what's happening in the automotive design world is this term called styling. I hate this word,
That's
styling.
one of my pet peeves, actually.
Yeah, it doesn't justify the capability of a designer. Yeah, so this was quite. I mean, when you're a student, you have so much aspiration, so many ideas, and you're able to put it together to your best of capabilities in a project in the given time frame.
Right.
And when I got a first-hand look at the industry, it was quite disappointing at that time.
Okay.
Because it was a very limited scope of involvement in multiple projects. And like I said, the styling is sort of a term that is detrimental for the whole design community itself.
Yeah.
Because you're not only creating a product, you're also thinking of what the target market is, you're thinking of what the consumers want, you're thinking of everything from the way the product is going to be pitched or marketed, and you're coordinating with engineering teams, understanding engineering constraints, and then, of course, the look and feel of the bike is your first impression from a consumer standpoint is super important.
Crazy, yeah.
But as a designer, you think of like 10 levels deeper, just beneath the surface as well, right?
Right.
The industry wasn't totally encouraging this. And maybe at some levels they do, but when you're in your most formative years of the career, if you're only restricted to, I'll make a mirror or I'll make an alloy wheel or something like that, it's not, I mean, nothing against people who are doing it, but for me, it wasn't a good fit.
Okay.
And so I had a first-hand glimpse of this. I did several internships during my time at college as well. Okay. I also came back to Icarus to do one very cool internship during my 3rd semester.
Okay.
This was a cool project where we were working on mobility aids for the elderly and visually impaired people.
Oh.
So what I had worked on there was a walking stick with some sensors, and it had a part of the stick, the structural member was also a light emitting source. So every time you place it, it would, have a illumination spread of a certain, I think, 2 meter radius. And the problem it had to tackle was a lot of the elderly first of all, wake up, you're a little disoriented. You look for your stick or your walker, and then you also carry a torch with you. And India, power cuts are rampant. So how do we tackle all of this and make a product? And from idea to prototype, sort of pulled it off in about 2 months. And
wow. Okay. And actually, this brings me to a very interesting and important point that, that styling, the reason why we all designers hate that term is because that design, the core of it is problem solving. Right?
Exactly.
Here also, when you said about this Icarus internship,
right,
you were solving a problem for visually impaired people, right?
Yeah.
And that solution is design. So tell me something, Narayan, that now that you had experience in NID, then you went to UMEO, and what was that difference like? Like, how did you feel that difference, and how did it help to, grow that attitude as a designer in the long run?
So, when I graduated, apart from Icarus where I had fun, a couple of other internships which was a little more closer to what the automotive industry was, which wasn't motivating. And I applied to UMEO and RCA in London. Had possibilities to join both, but I got a full scholarship at UMEO.
Wow.
And a few other advantages with UMEO, which I'll come to as well.
Okay.
So, one being RCA was intaking about 20-25 students, and UMEO was a very curated program for about 8 students in the batch.
Oh, just 8 students?
Yeah, so my class was about 8 people.
Wow.
So that was one very interesting factor. Okay. And 2, London versus north of Sweden, where you're close to the Arctic Circle. And so I was like, okay, let me, venture into the unknown and figure out how life is.
One, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, before that, I had a couple of job offers, one from where you're also working, and it was interesting. I'm bringing this up because a lot of students will also possibly be faced with this scenario. Do I study further or do I take up a job, right?
Right, yeah.
So, RCO, UMEO, one of the two, but or working in the industry was my predicament at that point. Again, common opinion from a lot of people in the industry plus colleagues was join, you'll learn a lot more during the job.
Correct.
I wasn't too certain. Also, one more factor that contributed to this was when I was planning to work here, my interactions were to be with Edgar Heinrich, right? And
the legend.
Yeah. And a few months after that is when I came to know that he's planning to move back to Germany.
Okay.
So when that happened, plus I was already thinking of, what is going to be the best suited direction, given my distaste for styling or dislike for just the pure styling role.
Right.
Wanted to be more core involved in the decision making of making an entire product. So this is when, between RC and UMEO, both are good schools. Chose UMEO, I think I mentioned why. And 2 years in Sweden, and it was great. Class of 8 people, and I think we had 7 different nationalities.
Wow.
So there was me from India, one person from Germany, China, Japan. I think we had a few seniors from Colombia and one more part of South America, Argentina as well. And you can imagine now the kind of peer-to-peer learning. It's not so much about the exact requirements of a project. Of course, great industry collaborations. We worked on a lot of projects with companies like Volvo, BMW, and a few other startups based out of US and Europe at that point. But the peer-to-peer learning, which you don't realize on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
But everyone is working with the same project brief, right? But the way you approach it, the kind of solutions you propose, the kind of factors that went into influencing your solution, that was a great learning curve, which I of course wasn't aware of. Now I can talk about it, or through the end of the course I realized that.
Yeah.
But I think that played a great influence in, opening up your mind to the whole world and kind of cultures and people, and how do you pick out what is important from a particular deliverable and give that to the people, right?
I was talking to Gaurang, who is also from UMEO.
Right.
And he was also telling me the same thing. And he was also mentioning this factor that when you are in Indian college, Indian scenario, your, scope of observation or, exposure is limited.
Right.
When you go to an international platform like UMEO or any other college, you will be meeting a lot of people from different cultures. You will be learning about so many other things, and then getting internships or collaborations with companies like you mentioned, Volvo, Audi, BMW, and all. And then you'll get so much exposure, and at the end of the day, you can decide for your own self. Like, okay, I have now experienced everything. Now, okay, let me decide what I want to do really. Yeah. So I'm very happy.
I think in line with this, a lot of these Indian colleges, we have exchange programs as well. What I noticed when we were in colleges, students were evaluating, is that a good college or not? There'll be some college in Germany or Italy or US. There's too much thought going into, is that a good program for me to go spend 6? Don't even think about it, just go there. Just the fact that you're in a different environment, different set of people, that is going to open up your mind quite a bit. So if there is any exchange possibility, could be Vietnam, could be Japan, could be Cambodia, could be some part of the US or Europe, doesn't matter, just go for it.
And get that experience, get that new perspective. And
it doesn't even matter if the projects are very core to what you want to do. I think here we have to prioritize your exposure a little over, am I getting to do 100% of what I want, or am I getting to do 70% of what I want?
Very nicely articulated, actually. Awesome. So now that when you were in Omeo, then you said that you had industry projects with good companies, global international companies. Tell me something. What were your learnings through those internships, and when was that point when you decided that you want to do something of your own? What was that journey like?
So that still wasn't on my mind of wanting to do something on my own. It was about, I think all of us have a few marquee studios that we aspire to work with as students and stuff.
For sure.
So I was pretty much the same at that point, right? I had a few cool studios in mind of where it would be interesting to work. Worked with a couple of great places. We went to Japan, worked at Daihatsu in Osaka for some time. A great place. Went to Germany, worked with Volkswagen at Wolfsburg for some time. Different types of learnings from there. But if I have to talk about one part of this whole phase that was very exciting, definitely the time in Japan. The energy levels are through the roof. When you're working, you're putting 200% and doing it. When you're out having fun and just meeting people and exploring Japan, there's a different energy and vibe to that as well.
True.
So that whole phase, you were in Japan yourself, right? And it is super exciting.
It is interesting, that experience, getting that new perspective, new experience, like country like Japan, which is very different from India in every aspect, food, discipline, everything. So it opens up so many avenues, you'll be thinking in when you experience all that, I'm pretty sure after that experience, you wouldn't be the same person when you were before going to Japan. Right?
Absolutely.
How long were you there?
I was there for about between 4 and 6 months. I don't know the exact period, but
that's a pretty long time to experience the core culture of Japan.
We were sort of passing through on the way to office and back and traveling on the local transport and what we see videos on YouTube, right? People shoving people into trains, and I was maybe one of those people in those.
Some funny moments actually. But definitely there is so much to learn from them.
And what I liked is the culture and the fun you have also, right? You're working really hard, you're getting stressed at work. I'm not going to argue with that, but we also had a lot of fun in the studio. So we were part of the international design team. Along with me, while I was there was another person from Germany, Sebastian. There was one more person from US, and I think another person from China with us in that program.
Again, a multicultural
yes.
team.
And each of us were leading our own projects. This was, of course, working on four-wheelers at that point. And we hung out a lot together, explored a lot from the heritage sites in Japan to going racing, going karting, and the culture, right? Everyone is fascinated with cars and bikes there. And I'm a vegetarian by choice, so food was a big challenge. Prompted me to start cooking as well. And when I say cooking, I think the depth of my cooking is an electric cooker, putting rice, putting some veggies,
making a sambar or
chaat masala, and calling it pulao. I'd call my mom and say, hey, I've made pulao today. And then you get potato chips with it and everything tastes good, right?
Oh, but actually I have stayed in Japan, and if you are a vegetarian, it's quite a struggle.
Yeah.
Really, as in it's very
But
difficult.
you would have seen there's a physical replica of every menu item as a wax dish, right? And it's so accurate you can't tell it apart from the real thing.
That was one of the highlights of my,
Yeah.
Japan experience. It's like so minute details.
Yes.
They would be doing everything over there, and it will look like an actual dish.
Yeah.
In every restaurant, they'll be, highlighting that.
Correct, correct.
This is our menu.
Yeah.
It's like a physical menu.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually helped because I would take that dish, go to the staff there,
Okay.
point to the animals and say 1, 2, go.
Oh.
Just give me the rest. So
Wow.
that was the only way I was able to manage outside. And I think the other day 2 in Japan, I learned to say Watashi wo nako tabamasen. I think it roughly translates to I do not want animals or
Correct.
I don't eat animals.
I don't eat any kind of meat, basically.
Yes, yes.
Wow, awesome, man. Vending machines, the metro, the kind of disciplines.
Yeah.
Everybody will be having, lanes fixed for everything. Oh man, Japan is, I think, it's a place like one should visit just for this experience.
I think in an ideal world, it will be good to spend a few months every year just in
Just to
exploring
get
Japan. Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you are going from Indian, this chaos.
Yeah.
That will be a nice retreat.
Yeah. But after 6 p.m., it's chaos.
That is also true. Yeah.
Different type of chaos, but
Yeah.
that's what I like about Japanese culture. They enjoy what they do, right?
Right, it has to be
Pick
there.
a few things, but put 200% into those few things.
Correct.
I think that's what I would have summarized it into from my time there. And
Wow.